Well, hello and welcome again to my office just outside of Washington, D.C. Tonight is a huge night for Ford because they have just unveiled the entire Bronco family. Now, if you guys haven't seen my first look video on the 2021 Bronco, be sure to watch that. Click on the link in the description below. This video is going to be talking about the Bronco Sport, which is again the second member of the Bronco family. It's designed to kind of be Ford's answer to the Jeep Cherokee because this is a car-based SUV with Bronco DNA that comes standard with four-wheel drive that gives you the off-road capability. And you know what? By the looks of this thing, it looks a lot like the Land Rover Freelander, the original one from the early 2000 eras. So because we are obviously still in the middle of a pandemic, I'm showing you guys the first look video on the Bronco Sport. So without further ado, let's take a first look. Now, as you guys know, the Bronco name has been absent here in America for the last 25 years. So the return of the Bronco and Bronco Sport, of course, is a big deal because Ford has killed off all of their passenger cars, and this Bronco family is essentially designed to replace that. When we first look at the Bronco Sport, you can see it's a very distinctive looking SUV that seriously looks a lot like the Land Rover Freelander that I remembered back from the early 2000 eras, although it's a much better modern interpretation. As you can see, most of the models that Ford is showing us here have full LED headlights. There's also that very distinctive LED daytime running light with the circle around the actual headlight projector, and of course another horizontal strip that goes between the headlight connecting to that Bronco grille, which looks very similar, of course, to the first generation Broncos. It has a lot of heritage in the design. I think it's a very distinctive SUV. Obviously, I'm going to prefer the real Bronco, the truck-based Bronco, the one that can actually take you off-road. The Bronco Sport is a little bit more of a soft-roader, but of course, with some genuine off-road credentials. Ford says that the Bronco Sport, depending on the trim levels, which by the way, there's a few trim names like Badlands, which Ford may have just called it Badass. They should have just called it that. That are really going to kind of be a cool, talking point with this new Bronco Sport. Now, if you guys go for the most capable trims of the Bronco Sport, the company says you'll be able to option in a 29-inch all-terrain tire. Now, obviously, that is about 6 inches smaller than the regular Bronco, but it's still a very capable tire considering this car-based SUV has a fully unitized body. It's essentially based off of the current generation Ford Escape platform, which, as you guys know, I tested that vehicle earlier this year. Wasn't terribly impressed with the current Escape. This new Bronco Sport, however, is probably the one that you should look at if you guys like the Escape but want something that's a little bit more distinctive and something that actually looks like an SUV as opposed to looks like a lifted wagon like the new Escape. Now, if you guys go for the Bronco Sport with the 29-inch all-terrain tires, you'll be able to have around 8.8 inches of ground clearance. That's actually class leading. It's a little bit more than what you get in the Cherokee Trailhawk. And the Bronco Sport is a relatively small vehicle. It stretches at around 172 inches long. It's only offered in 4 doors. Unlike the regular Bronco, which offers a 2-door and a 4-door, this is only offered in a 4-door version. It's a lot smaller than something like the Jeep Cherokee. So this is really more along the size of, I think, like the Kia Seltos and the Jeep Compass, which is again a class below the Cherokee, and that's where I feel like the Bronco Sport is going to start at. Now, at the back of the Bronco Sport, you can see the design definitely has a pretty distinctive look. It looks, again, like no other SUV in Ford's lineup. You have a LED combination rear taillights. You have the black painted or the black unpainted rear bumpers, rear front and rear bumpers. But unlike the regular Bronco, I don't believe you can get this thing with the steel bumpers. Remember, this is designed to be a soft-roader, but it should offer a lot of the skid plate underbody protection that you're looking for, especially if you guys go for the most capable versions. Now, underneath the hood, the powertrains of the Bronco Sport are going to mirror that for what you're going to find in, of course, the Ford Escape. The base engine will be a 1.5-liter EcoBoost turbocharged 4-cylinder with around 181 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. 4-wheel drive or full-time electronic all-wheel drive system will, of course, be standard with those driver selectable modes, which also include those off-road modes. If you guys want more power, you can also option in a 2-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder with around 245 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are pretty good. Ford obviously didn't have the weight ratings of this truck just yet. I imagine it's going to be a relatively heavy vehicle considering the off-road chops it's going to need. Ford says if you're looking to tow with the Bronco Sport, it'll tow a maximum of 2,200 pounds depending on, of course, the trim configurations, and the standard and only transmission will be an 8-speed automatic transmission. If you guys are looking for a manual, you'll have to go and buy the regular truck-based Bronco. Now moving on to the interior of the Bronco Sport, just like the Big Daddy Bronco, this interior has a much more rugged, kind of weatherproof theme. Ford says that a lot of the panels and the dashboard, of course, can be wiped down. You can kind of have seats that are weather resistant, that are waterproof. So it's a very nice place to spend time. I'm hoping it feels a lot more roomy versus the last Ford Escape that I sat in and drove. Now, if you look at the dashboard design, you can see it's very distinctive looking. It also doesn't look like the standard Bronco. In fact, Ford didn't even give you the latest tech in this car. It has Sync 3, which is their current infotainment system, but the regular Bronco offers Sync 4 and a 12-inch display. This is only an 8-inch Sync 3 infotainment system. Now, of course, it does include Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, although I don't believe it's the wireless variety. But it does have a very nice look to it. Of course, we've got that tablet style screen. The instrument panel has 2 analog dials. The steering wheel looks very similar to the last Ford Escape that I drove, and it looks like it's going to be a comfortable place to spend time. Not the biggest fan of the rotary shifter. In turn, it looks a little bit more car-like, obviously, versus the interior that you find in the regular Bronco. Now, unlike the regular Bronco, the Bronco Sport will become standard with Ford's Copilot 360, their full suite of driver assistance tech, which is funny because the regular Bronco is optional for those driver assistance features while it's standard in the smaller Bronco Sport. Obviously, Ford is doing that because they're expecting younger drivers, more families to drive this as opposed to the off-road driving enthusiasts who don't necessarily want that tech. But again, they're saying that this Bronco Sport has the Bronco DNA. Now, if you guys are looking to pick up one of these Bronco Sports, you can now go to Ford's website and pre-order the vehicle for about $100. And interestingly, Ford has not announced pricing of the Bronco Sport. They said the regular Bronco will be around just under $30,000. I'm gonna estimate this one should probably be around $5,000 less, maybe $24,995 is what I would guess. Fully loaded versions of this car could probably top $40,000. It's a very attractive looking SUV, and if you like the Ford Escape, I would strongly recommend looking at the Ford Bronco Sport because it again offers some real off-road capabilities that you don't technically get in the compact CUV segment, and you also have looks that are very distinctive. This is an SUV that I think will probably turn a lot of heads, maybe not as heads as the regular Bronco when you have all the roof and the doors off, but nevertheless, it should be a very attractive SUV when it goes on sale, which, by the way, you'll be able to pick up the Bronco Sport by the end of this year. So it's coming out before the regular Broncos. If you can't wait to get your hands on a Bronco branded family vehicle, you might want to be putting your name down and your money down for a deposit on the Bronco Sport. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my first look video on the 2021 Bronco Sport. Remember, if you guys also want to see my first look video on the regular Bronco, be sure to click on the link in the description below. I'll include that so you guys can kind of go back to back between the two vehicles. But if you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.